Hey, what's going on, people? It's Movado 242 coming here for a little short video. I know I've been out and about for a while, and my hat's off to guys that do this stuff every day. I mean, it takes a lot of preparation, and it's not easy to do. I'm trying to get more committed to putting out more content, and hopefully I can keep that up. I watched this video today that was very intriguing. There was a guy, was a behavior specialist rather, and he broke down some things that I've been talking about for a while, and that you probably know about if you followed me at any length of time. You probably know the same things, but there are probably a lot of people who don't know those things. And he broke out some pretty interesting comments on how we are manipulated to fight the left-right paradigm, how we are just conditioned to pick a side, to be on a team, on the left or the right, the red or the blue, the conservative or the liberal. So once you understand how this thing works and how you are manipulated, you can begin to see behind the veil, and you start to understand, okay, wow, that's what's really happening. So I'm going to use a couple of excerpts from his interview with Daniela Camboni from ITM Trading. And it was a pretty interesting interview. So if you want to see the whole thing, you can go to her website, ITM Trading, and watch it. I'm just going to highlight a few snippets of what they were talking about to just give you a general idea of what this guy does and how he breaks it down. So I hope you enjoy this, and I'll be interacting a little bit in between some of the to add some commentary of my own. But basically, I want you to hear what this guy says, how we are controlled, and how the elite, and he even described an upper elite and how they really run this system. So let's take a listen to this first clip.
My next guest spent 2 decades as the Navy's leading behavior expert, training elite intelligence teams how to read microsignals, predict outcomes, and control high-stakes situations most people never see coming. He's the author of the #1 best-selling book on human behavior, the creator of the world's most accurate influence systems, and one of the only civilians ever cleared to train interrogation and persuasion at the highest levels. Today, he's here to reveal exactly what the behavioral and financial signals are telling us right now. How close are we to a full monetary reset, and the precise steps you need to take before the window closes for good.
Everything I study is about behavior and interrogation and that kind of thing. And that money isn't really just that math, it's behavioral control. And a government doesn't need to punish you if they can just influence what you fear losing.
Wow. Now, we saw a prime example of that a few years ago, didn't we? Where either you took this thing or you lost your job. And to go a little further, they're talking about coming up with this central bank digital currency, which will be another control mechanism. Once they can lock you out of your bank account digitally or freeze your money if you don't comply. So yeah, that was that. We've already witnessed some of that. So let's see what else he's got to say.
I'm looking at what people are bitching about on the internet. So I don't know. I don't really pay a lot of attention to that stuff. But one of the biggest ones that I've noticed from a behavioral side is this kind of like a sabotage through confusion. And I think confusion, if you just look at how people are controlled and how psyops work, confusion has always been the most effective tool for control. If people don't know what's happening, they can't resist. So they freeze and then they comply. So confusion becomes the new, we need to stay at home. We need to lock down. So it's just keeping us from being able to make a decision. And that's why one of the things I say every time I'm talking to business people is that clarity is your ultimate wealth. Like when you see the system clearly, which is one of the things that you offer so clearly to all of your subscribers, all of your listeners, you get to a place where you stop reacting and start making moves that actually matter. I think a lot of people aren't stuck. They're just confused and they're trying to look at everything through wax paper. So I will always say that clear thinking beats insider information. And a lot of people are waiting, like, I need this one insider information thing, but clear thinking is more powerful.
Now, that is another very powerful concept, clear thinking. How many times have we seen an event go down and there's always this cloud of confusion around it? You know, there were 3, there were 2, you know, this thing happened and nobody saw it, or everybody saw it and didn't know what they saw. It's always a ball of confusion, as the old song went by the Temptations, and they do that purposefully. So you can't focus on what's really happening. It's like a magician, you know, sleight of hand. Look over here while I do this, and they've perfected that over I would say over centuries. They have really gotten the point where they can predict and probably definitely influence and control human behavior just by their the wheels, the levers of power that they wield. I mean, they hold enormous control over our day-to-day lives, you know. So this guy is giving you a pretty inside view of how these things are done and how we are easily manipulated on a daily basis.
There's no immunity. We're not going to like vaccinate ourselves against mass media control and manipulation and psyops, but we can start detoxing from a lot of these things and start playing a game with yourself and with your kids. Teach your kids the game. Whenever you see any kind of marketing or advertising, figure out it's always doing one of 2 things. Is number 1, is it making me compare myself to other people? Number 2, is it making me feel like I'm not enough yet? I'm not enough yet. And that is a lifesaver. And I would say I got 0 emails about Black Friday because I have a total separate email address that I use for all of that kind of stuff. That's so smart to do. It's one of the smartest decisions I've ever made to
100%. Yeah.
really do that. But I think at the end of the day, like if anything does happen, even if it's just like a little depression or a downturn or I don't
Yeah.
even know what they call it, survival of any of those things is going to come down to 3 things: reduce dependency, increase tangibility, and strengthen your personal identity. So if you can stand on your own, you are holding something that's real and you know who you are, collapse stops being a threat and it becomes just a transition. So the goal for me with anything that I own, I want anything that happens is just a transition because I've prepared for it and it's tangible.
Now, if you've been around paying attention for any length of time, you know, I remember when I first kind of woke up, in quotation marks, you know, the system was about to crash, and that was about 20 years ago, and we're still waiting for it to crash. These things don't happen overnight, but he just laid out some gems right there as far as knowing yourself and being able to take care of yourself. You know, during the Great Depression, we were a country where a lot of people farmed and grew their own food and were kind of self-sustained. Imagine a Great Depression in this day and age where we have this just-in-time delivery system of food. There's no huge warehouses of food waiting to be, you know, put out on the market or on the floor. Those supplies and those foodstuffs arrive just in time before they spoil. And if we have an issue with the supply chain like we saw during COVID, where things got kind of backed up and you couldn't get stuff when you went to the grocery store, the shelves were empty, people were hoarding toilet tissue and all kinds of stuff like that. Those things are that was just a glimpse into what could happen. And this channel is this channel is basically a financial channel, but they focus on solutions. And right now, he was talking about tangible things. A lot of people have money in the stock market and your 401k. All of that could evaporate in a blink of an eye. So what's real? Gold is real. Silver is real. And they are making a run on the price here lately. Silver is going up. I think when I first started paying attention to silver, it was around $12-14 an ounce. Today, it was up to 58 and some change. And gold was like $1,000 when I started paying attention. And it's up to like over 4,000, 4,400, I believe. I didn't look at the exact spot price, but why is that? When I was a kid, a gallon of gas cost 50 cents. I'm maybe dating myself there, but yeah, I'm old. I'm an old guy. A gallon of gas was 50 cents. And today, a gallon of gas is anywhere $3 to $4 or whatever the price may be. Are you getting more gas? You're still getting a gallon of gas, but instead of paying 50 cents for it, you're paying $3 or $4 for it. That's because the purchasing power of our dollar has declined. And that's all due to, short story, the Federal Reserve printing money. That's what causes inflation. When they print money and use federal, reserve, what's the term I'm looking for? So basically, when you put money in the bank, say you put $1,000 in the bank, they can take that $1,000 and loan $10,000. Fractional reserve banking is what it's called. So they can take that $1,000 and loan it out 10,000 times. And if everybody went to the bank at once to try to get their money, you're not going to get it. Some people will, and that's if you go back to the old movie, It's a Wonderful Life. They had a run on the bank, and everybody wanted their money, but the money's not there. And our financial system is getting exposed more and more each day. I mean, the United States is, $38 trillion in debt the last time I counted. And just to pay the interest on the debt, which is $1 trillion, they are borrowing that to pay the interest on the debt. So could you run your household like that? Could you run a business like that? No, you couldn't. But the government can run like that because they've got the guns and the printing press. But eventually, economic Mother Nature doesn't like to be fooled, and it's going to catch up with us. And that's what they're talking about. The debasement of the currency. It's happened over and over the centuries. Every empire that overextends itself through debasement of the currency and getting involved in foreign wars, and eventually the empire collapses. And what are we doing right now? We're getting involved in all kinds of things, military actions, types of military actions that the current president claimed he was going to be a president of peace. Well, none of those guys are presidents of peace. They've all started wars and done what they needed to do to keep the money flowing to the military-industrial complex and keep their donors happy. Make no mistake, they don't do what you want them to do because you voted for them. They do what the people that give them the money want them to do. And the sooner we understand that, the sooner the better. And I think he's going to address that point again how we are fooled, divided, and conquered. And it's a trick that has worked for years, for millennia, and it's probably going to keep on working until we wake up.
Yeah. So I have a 17-year-old son, and his
Right.
name's Will, and every once in a while, he knows very well about how media manipulates and controls and all that stuff. But he'll come up and ask me questions, and my answer to everything is we don't know what happened to JFK, and it's comical to think that we're really going to get some solid answers out of stuff like this when it is so massively covered up, and there's so much disinformation. And I'm not talking about like people spreading fake news on the internet. I'm talking about actual engineered disinformation campaigns made to skew investigations and things like that. And I've completely resigned to the fact that, and this is the same thing I tell my kids, like all the events you see are real. The situations are not ever real. These are engineered things almost all the time. When you see these big things happen, the situation is fake. The event actually does happen. So people think, oh, this was staged or something like that. Well, staged doesn't mean it didn't happen. So it happened. We'll probably not get any of the real truth. And one of the funny things about psychology is when the government releases some files and says like, oh, we're declassifying all these old CIA files and stuff. And you're going to look through it. It's like, oh, wow, they experimented on people. They drugged people with LSD, like massive horse-sized doses of LSD and stuff. But in every generation, we look at all this and like, oh, there's a demonstrated history of something like the CIA or anything doing this. And we get to modern day, and somehow it's like wired into our head, like, oh, yeah, there's this demonstrated thing, and we can see all these documents. But they don't do that today. And that's in the back of most people's heads. Like, yeah, there's all this stuff that got released, but not anymore, not today. So I don't think we're going to have a full story. I think that everything that you're seeing online, this is coming from, like, I am a brainwashing expert. So
Right.
as a brainwashing expert, I'm saying that there is so much out there that you are worrying about things that are probably unsolvable, don't benefit your life directly. And we're forcing so much attention away from things that are happening in our real life. We know more people on
Right.
the internet than our next door neighbors. And if a crisis happens, or we do have a financial collapse that happens, your neighbors are going to be your new family. And
For
the,
sure.
the people on Twitter are not.
Now, that is some pretty good advice. That was when I was growing up as a kid. We knew who our neighbors were. We knew, we had a community. And nowadays, it's like, and I'm kind of guilty of it myself. There are some people in my neighborhood that I've never talked to. And I've been living in this place for like 12 years or more. And there are some people that I've met and developed relationships with, but when he was talking about his kid, it reminds me of my grandson. When he was 6 years old, I told him there was no Santa Claus. Yeah, I know I'm a mean guy. And he's about 21 now, and so we were talking, and I reminded him of that, and he was like, why did y'all let me believe in Santa Claus? I said, don't worry about it, man. We all believe that. But that's how they do it. They give you these big little lies to get you ready for the big ones. Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, the boogeyman in the closet's going to get you. And that's how they controlled us. They controlled your kids. If you're not good, Santa Claus is not going to bring you any toys. Or the Easter Bunny's not going to give you any eggs. And, he was like, and he grew up, he's like, why did you let me believe that? And it's a good question. Why? Why did they let us believe that? And the reason they let us believe that is because they're training us to believe the big lie. So you got to start with the little ones and ingrain that in them. And as they grow up, when they get the big lie, it's not so hard to accept. It's easier to accept because you're used to being lied to, and that's where we are as a country too. The government lies on a daily basis. I saw this comedian doing a routine once, and he was saying, you don't believe in any conspiracy theories. He said, I can see you not believing in some of them, but you don't believe in any of them. And he's like, I got 2 kids, and I lie to them every day. You don't think the government is not lying to us on a daily basis? And we see that. If you look at this recent shooting of Charlie Kirk, look at all the stuff that's coming out. That's not coming out, and they're acting shady as shady can be. And if they're not guilty, they're definitely hiding something. I believe it's just too obvious that all of this stuff happens. We never get an answer. Look at what's going on in Venezuela. We're going in there for what? What are they telling us? I don't know what they're telling us, but I know they're going in there for the oil, and that's going to be another rabbit hole that we can't get out of. I think if we get in it, hopefully cooler heads will prevail, and that doesn't happen. But anyway, I would encourage you to follow that guy, Chase Hughes. I'm sorry. He's like I said, he knows what he's talking about with the psyops and how we're being manipulated and how we are constantly using what they call the Hegelian dialectic of divide and conquer and problem, reaction, solution, where they create the problem, we react to it, and they provide the solution that they already had ready for us. Like 9/11, when that happened, the Patriot Act was already drafted and ready to roll out. They just needed the excuse to do it. So anyway, I think that's all I'm going to do on this interview. If you'd like to see the entire interview, I would encourage you to follow ITM Trading and Chase Hughes. He has a channel too. I think his name is Chase Hughes. And if you are not, if you don't have any of your financial resources out of the system, i.e. like gold and silver, you may want to contact ITM Trading and talk to them about what they can do to help you, get something. If you're not already moving down that path of having some of your money outside of the financial system, they could definitely help you. Because I don't know if you know this, but they've passed a law. Remember when we had the 2008 housing crisis? Banks got to bail out. Well, they passed a law now that says if something like that happens again, it won't be any bailouts. It's going to be a bail-in, as in they're going to take your money to cover their losses. And what a lot of people don't know is that once you put your money in the bank, it's no longer your money. You're considered an unsecured investor, and you're not first in line to get your money if something happens. That right is reserved for secured investors, which are the big corporations and whatnot. I think Henry Ford said it best at one time, that if the American people really knew how the financial system worked, there would be a revolution in the morning. And we've been complacent and just not made aware of a lot of things that we should know. And I'm constantly learning those, so I hope that I can help share some of that knowledge and bring you up to speed on a lot of things that affect our daily lives. And it's just a shame that the people that actually do run this world, they don't really care about us. I saw a saying that said the elite would rather see the world burn to the ground and rule over their ashes than to see the human race be free. So with that, I'm going to sign off and see you next time. Peace.
It's like if you're on the left, you're going to be shown the dumbest moron idiots on the right that you could ever be shown. If you're on the right, they're going to show you the most stupid,
Of
dumbass
course.
people
Right.
possible that disagree with you. And the overall goal of that is to make you think like, oh my God, these people are insane. They're unbelievably insane. And it's not true. They show you a tiny slice of a fringe and try to convince you that that's everybody.